Hey, I'm not wearing any pants. But I was trying to teach myself how to play Orleans. This is a worker placement game. It's been sitting in my pile of shame for a while. And I realized something. I thought, I really enjoy worker placement games. In fact, they're swiftly becoming my favorite kind of game. But I don't really know all that much about them. Where do they come from? Why do I enjoy them so much? Which good ones have I missed out on? And which bad ones have I dodged? So I did a little research, and I thought what I found was worth sharing. So here's what I've learned about worker placement games. I'm also going to walk you through some of my favorites. For the uninitiated, worker placement is a game mechanic where players have a limited number of tokens, which are usually called workers. And they're often these little wooden people called meeples, and they're adorable. Orleans uses these little cardboard cutouts of colorful little people, and they're cute. Anyway, you can place these workers at locations or stations on the board or on cards or whatever you happen to be playing on, and these locations will then provide some sort of defined action. This kind of game or mechanic is usually called action drafting, since usually once you place a worker down on a location, nobody else can go to that location. Sorry, buddy. But there are board games that have exceptions to this rule. Turns out, worker placement as we know it is a relatively new mechanic. Wikipedia lists the first game to use it as 1998's Keydom, which has since been remade and updated into Aladdin's Dragons, which is sadly out of print. Interestingly enough, the game credited with popularizing worker placement is 2005's Caylus, which I picked up on a whim just a few weeks ago. In playing Caylus, you can see some building blocks of other popular worker placement games, like buildings you can build that provide a new action while simultaneously giving the owner free resources. This would be seen again in 2012's Lords of Waterdeep. Another well-known worker placement game is 2007's Agricola, which I've had for about a year but only played recently, and spent almost the whole game frustrated. I guess there's a reason people call that game Misery Farm. One of the simplest worker placement games is 2008's Stone Age. You control a small group of villagers trying to improve their lot with agriculture, developing tools, building huts, creating the first steps towards civilization, and making more people. What I like about this game is that most spaces can accommodate more than one worker, and only a few are limited to one player, so it's rarely frustrating. 2011's Lancaster has a twist on the worker placement mechanic. You can bully other weaker knights off the space you want with either a stronger knight or squires, which give you temporary strength. But if somebody comes along and kicks you out afterwards, you don't get the squires back. It's a neat twist that leads to interesting power dynamics and high-stakes gambles late in the game. 2012 saw the release of two of my favorites, Lords of Waterdeep and Tzolk'in. Now, Waterdeep, we've already done a set of videos on these. You can check those out yourself if you want to learn more. But Tzolk'in is one of my absolute favorite games, and these two games illustrate a point. In most games, like Lords of Waterdeep, you place a worker and immediately take the action they are assigned to. But in Tzolk'in, you place workers on these giant gears, which turn every round, and when you pick them up determines what action you take. Taking an action when you remove a worker is colloquially referred to as reverse worker placement. The particular challenge with Tzolk'in is you must either pick up or put down workers every round. So the game becomes a time management balancing act that is a wonderfully mentally invigorating puzzle. Licensed games are traditionally horrible in the video game world, but that's not always the case when it comes to board games. For example, 2014's Sons of Anarchy is actually a pretty good worker placement game, where if two players place gang members at the same location, they can have a throwdown to see who gets to use the location. And if guns get involved, gang members can be sent to the hospital or even killed. I'm a pretty big wine fan. So when I heard about 2015's Viniculture Essential Edition, I jumped on it. I was also not wearing pants then, but you can clean these things. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. The quirk here is that every game round is a year that consists of all 4 seasons, and during summer and winter you can place workers on summer and winter locations. to take actions during those seasons. Each location has at least 3 spaces for workers, and each player gets a large grande worker who can use a location even if it's full. And interestingly enough, whoever is the second person to use a location gets a bonus of some kind. This game is loaded with interesting choices, and that's always a huge plus. 2015 also saw the release of Champions of Midgard. This Viking-themed game allows you to place workers to get food, wood, or warriors, and the warriors are dice, which you can then use to fight monsters and gain victory points. Well, you might know how I feel about dice games. I'm about as lucky as a squirrel who gets run over by a car when he's just 3 days from retirement. But Champions of Midgard gives you a couple of ways to mitigate bad luck rolls, like horns that let you re-roll dice, runes that can change the tide of battle, or boats that let you send more warriors than you might need. 2017's Anachrony is a fascinating twist on the formula. Players can time travel to get resources from their future selves, but they have to pay off the debt and close the time loop, or else they'll cause paradoxes and eventually temporal anomalies. There are also 4 different types of workers, all of whom are better at accomplishing certain actions than others. But you can only perform actions in the capital city if you send your workers out in a powered-up mech suit. There's 4 different kinds of workers, there's 4 different kinds of resources, there's 4 different kinds of buildings. Oh no, wait, not 4, there's 5 different kinds of buildings. There's a lot going on here. Maybe too much. And finally, an indie game, 2017's Affliction Salem 1692 by my friend Dan Hundies at DPH Games. It chronicles the events of the Salem witch hunt. And I might be biased here because he's my friend, so up front, I know the guy. Players place workers to gain influence, protect, or arrest prominent members of the 3 powerful families at the center of it all. The twist here is no matter when you place your workers, the actions all get carried out in sequence. And as a bonus, the game is extremely historically accurate. How many games are this much fun and can also teach you something? Now mind you, I can only talk about games I've played. Worker placement games currently in my pile of shame include Keyflower, Charterstone, Orleans, and Lewis and Clark. And they might all be excellent, I just need to get them to the table. So let's make this the start of a conversation. What do you think about worker placement games? Which ones are your favorites? Which good ones have I missed? Which ones didn't you like and why? Please let me know all of that down in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button and check out some of our other videos. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys next time. That'll get me a knight. I'll take it.